Alright, let's do this. You couldn't play Momotaro Dentetsu in English before the release of the Asia edition of Eras. That is a true statement. However, if you squint your eyes at gaming history, you'll see a warped version of the truth that says you could play Momotaro Dentetsu as early as 2020 in English. How is that possible? By the way of a ripoff, of course. Let me just say that information on the creation of this game is fairly limited. I've scoured the Japanese internet for any sign of why exactly Sakuma and these two key team members broke away. When Eras came out, many were very unhappy with the art style change, enough to where Sakuma had to give a statement. He said since Doi worked on a competing game on the same platform, they didn't want confusion for consumers, so they opted to go in a new direction. Which to me sounds like pure corporate BS speak along the lines of animating female characters in Assassin's Creed Unity is too hard. For anything more specific than that, I can't seem to find much. IGN Japan's review of the game had this quote, as Google translated: "As has been discussed online, there seems to be a complicated story behind the development and the release of this game, so I won't go into detail here. But there are some similarities, probably because the staff who worked on Momotaro Dentetsu were also involved." But that's the closest I could find to an official source as to why the game was made. To me, the beef, or lack thereof, between Sakuma and his former staff members seems to be a mystery. My guess is because of the legal tomfoolery with Sakuma and Konami at the time, and the fact that Sakuma has repeatedly been willing to sunset the series, means that the likelihood of a new game being made is very slim. This left a business opportunity on the table. Nintendo Switch was a fairly monumental success from launch, and it didn't have one of the most popular party games of all time. No supply, all demand. Momotaro Dentetsu games weren't exactly difficult to produce, no high-end graphics and gameplay systems that needed tweaking. Why wait for Konami and Sakuma to stop squabbling when you can just jump to Bandai Namco and have a very reliable partner, all without the headache? So, artist Takayuki Doi and scenario writer Hiroshi Ozawa broke away and collaborated with BB Studio and Matrix to make a Momotaro Dentetsu Light game. Regardless of how it got here, it's here now. Billion Road, released in November of 2018 Japan and March of 2020 internationally, on Switch and Steam. I imagine in the era of the Switch, more companies have been willing to try whatever out on the console. Bandai Namco games on Switch proved to be very profitable in particular, not only through partnerships with Nintendo on games like Smash Ultimate and Pokken, but their own published games like My Hero 1 Justice and Taiko no Tatsujin. So why not throw Billion Road on there, even as a digital-only title? Though, Limited Run Games did do a physical release for what that's worth. But enough preamble, how's the game itself? Well, it's very familiar as to be expected. The basic rules of Momotaro Dentetsu hasn't changed, be the one with the most money, the end of the year count, map of Japan, invested businesses, etc., etc. Hilariously, you walk around on foot as an actual character, harkening back to Momotaro Dochuki, the very game Sakuma tried to erase from history that Izawa said was terrible. Where Billion Road differs the most, however, is that it incorporates a Pokemon-like element. Bumblebee and his various forms are now different random monsters. The player in last place gets hit with a Mon once someone reaches the first city. Then it switches out for a completely different monster when somebody hits the next city. Of course, they all have unique negative effects, but you can counteract them with a team of your own monsters. You'll find them in various ways as you run around the map, but you can only hold 3 of them at a time. These monsters have positive effects, such as adding +1 to a dice roll or giving you more money any turn. They also have their own unique attack power, defense power, stats. If this all sounds a little bit too complex, that's because it very well is. One of Momotetsu's strengths is depth and simplicity. It's suitable for a game where you often have a 1 in 6 chance to completely turn everything around. But when you throw in managing different monsters and their stats, having battles, it all becomes a bit muddied. Especially when you have 3 other people to socialize with. The pacing approaches Devon Dovis levels of waiting. The game steps to tell you when and where new monsters appear, the effects of the not Bombi playing out, random crap happening in the world, etc., etc. I appreciate the fast forward button for moments like these, but it's not a good indication that your game is well designed when you are incentivized to fast forward it. I hate to sound so down on the game because, in the end, it's Momotetsu in sheep's clothing. I still like Billion Road, and I think it looks a lot more appealing than any of the Momotetsu games on the Switch, but it just gets exhausting to play. I think back to Yakuza Kiwami being the only game in the series on Switch. I'm grateful that it's there. Any Yakuza games on Switch is dandy, but why does it have to be the one with the often obnoxious Majima Everywhere system? Yeah, that's what it feels like playing Billion Road. I'm grateful it's in English, but at the same time, the monster stuff really drags. Still, I think it's worth picking up.